I feel like I had never understood what love was until I had a daughter and I had a girl and had a child for myself, and so it is like I was not a person that actually wanted to have children. And, God had changed my heart towards that. And I ended up having one. And the first, like, I want to say the first year, I did not know, like, what was happening to me.
You have a cool backstory. I'm going to ask you a lot different parts of your story, but a lot of our
Sure.
audience, some of our audience may recognize you from a really famous group, Maverick City Music. Now, let's take it back to that. Can you tell us how you became a part of Maverick City?
Yeah. So Mav City started off as a group of songwriters, and we were just kind of writing songs and recording them just to have them. Typically in writing sessions, we do that. We just started doing it and posting it on YouTube, and it became really big. But I had been doing covers on Instagram and kind of just like leading worship. Um, and one of the founders of Mav City, had reached out to me on Instagram. Was like, "Hey, we're doing these writing camps. Like, you should come." And I was just like, "Cool." It wasn't even called Mav at that time. It was literally there was no name for it. It was just like he was a well-known writer in the industry, and he was just like, "Yeah, there's a bunch of us coming to write, so why don't you come through?" And I was just like, "Okay, like I guess I can try." And the rest is really history. We just wrote songs and recorded it, and um, yeah, I mean, it took the world by storm because we also happened to record during COVID, and I think that was a time that a lot of people needed an outlet of hope and peace and just feeling seen and understood. And Mav was there, and we had those songs for people. And so I think that's what really connected with people at that time.
You know what's interesting? I think I was watching an episode of Better Together.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, and Naomi Raine was on there and she was talking about how during COVID, that's when she was actually going through, she's like, it was a time of deconstruction. And I guess she was kind of questioning her faith, where it took her, like, you could go this way or you could go that way. And by the grace of God, obviously she stayed with God and she saw the truth. So I think what's
Mhm.
amazing is you were talking about how you guys got together during this time, Mav City, and then the music was inspiring so many people. But yet at the same time,
Mhm.
one of the most prominent members of the group was having
Yeah.
her own faith struggle. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that I think it was a time for us to be real. Like, I think that was what it was. Like, we weren't coming off trying to be perfect, and we still aren't. Like, but I think it's the fact that we showed up and we were honest about where we're at. And like a lot of her songs specifically, you can hear it and like the way she sings it and the way that she leads. Like, she was convinced of something, and it shows through her art. And so I'm really, really grateful that we got to go through that experience all together and be able to uphold one another in that time. It was really, really something I'll never forget.
You know, that's important of community in the church, actually.
Hmm.
Not just having, people can say, oh, I need community, or I have good community, or I just have community. But no, there's something about quality Christian community, because what you're going to hear from other people, they won't bring an aspect of the gospel in it, because I fully believe and I know that there is a spiritual aspect to pretty much
Yeah.
every. And let's go into something before we get into your music, which I'm really excited about that. Um, we're talking about, mental health issues and things like that,
Yeah.
and people questioning, and you have some sort of background in this. This is so interesting. Can you tell us where that, I think it's cool because it kind of does meet with also the fact that you are a worship leader and you sing, and then you have this. Tell us about your
Yeah.
mental health. This is amazing.
Yeah, so I have a master's of education in clinical mental health counseling. So before I even started pursuing music in a more professional manner, um, that was kind of what I was going to do. I was going to become a therapist and do mental health and maybe eventually go on to like teach and get my PhD. That was like all these plans that I had for myself. Like, I really wanted to do that. And but then I knew when these doors opened to kind of pursue music. It was always something I had always enjoyed doing. I was very musical ever since I was young. And so I always knew that music was going to be a part of whatever I did, like whether it would be a hobby or I'd be involved in church or one thing or the other. I knew that music was always going to be there. But when this opportunity came for me to take it a little bit more seriously, um, I knew that it was God because I had no, like, I was not trying at all to pursue music in any manner. Um, but it just fell into my lap and I kind of was like, all right, like I'm trusting you, Lord, in this. And I did it. And now I'm like so grateful. I mean, I think when you look at my story and how I like ended up getting my master's and then never ended up using it, some people might feel as though, like, oh, what a waste of a degree. But actually, I feel that I needed to go through all of that to really appreciate and love what I'm doing. And when I go into rooms with other artists or songwriters, like I find myself using a lot of those counseling skills, like those therapeutic skills in sessions, not like psychoanalyzing them, but even just like actively listening or the art of asking good questions to get to the root of a feeling to communicate through a song, like, so I use a lot of those skills. But yeah, mental health, it's also Mental Health Awareness Month, which is really special. But um it is a big part of my life and what I do. And I feel like it's infused very much like my faith. My love for mental health awareness and is very much infused in everything I do.
You said it exactly correct. I was thinking as you were saying, well, I didn't go and use it during this. I said, no, she's using it practically in everyday life. And then
Right.
you were talking about it, and I said, yeah, God used that to do in your career, and it's not even just being able to help out other people that are within your physical realm. But I feel like that can also transcend into your music and make you as a person get really deep into the way you write. And
Hmm.
I was reading the lyrics of your new song, and you're a mom
Oh.
to a beautiful little girl, which so sweet, honestly, so sweet. Can you tell us about the experience of, just becoming a mom? And I have heard from other moms that it's a different kind of love that, you will
Hmm.
understand once you become a mom. And I've also heard, yeah, it's beautiful. And then the realities of, I don't get any sleep sometimes and I worry. And so tell us all about this whole motherhood experience, both the good and, things that are trials
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, it is for sure. Your friends are right. It is like one of the most, it's very difficult to explain because unless you're a mother or like you have parented something in your life, you can't really relate to it. But I tried in this song to communicate it. I feel like I had never understood what love was until I had a daughter and I had a girl and had a child for myself, and so it is like I was not a person that actually wanted to have children. And, God had changed my heart towards that. And I ended up having one. And the first, like, I want to say the first year, I did not know, like, what was happening to me. Like, and I was also just, this is more niche for me, but I was also a singer songwriter and artist in a group that was taking the world by storm. It just was like a storm of things
Mhm.
that happened at one time. So I'm like, I find out that I'm pregnant and I'm like going on tour 36 weeks pregnant. And I'm like, this is so unreal, so real. Like, I don't know, like how I'm doing. Like, we're going to figure it out. Like, so it was like the motherhood part of it. If I'm being very honest, like I only really enjoyed it after the first year. Like I started to feel more myself. I started to realize, like, um, I might not look like the mom that my mom was to me. And I come from a South Asian culture they have very clear expectations for women and moms. And I knew immediately just with my career, like the way that I mother and the way that my mom was with me, it's not going to be the same. Like, and so I had to take some time to accept that and trust that like I was equipped to do what God had called me to do in both roles. And that took some time. But the best thing about having a child is that they don't hold any of that against you. Her love for me was consistent throughout. And was so unconditional. I could have like been away from her and felt absolutely terrible about the fact that I went away, but she would still look at me and be like, "Mommy," like so excited to see me, like not really even holding anything back or against me for leaving. And hey, we don't know if she might hold it against me later on in her life. I don't know. Who knows? She's only 2.5 now. And but it's just like I felt that I had never experienced that kind of unconditional love in a human way. Like, I've experienced that love with the Lord and the way that He's shown love to me, but that was the closest thing I've ever experienced to like unconditional love in a human sense. And so it really changed my life. But yeah, my life is not the same. Like I can't do the things that I used to do. I don't think the way that I used to do, um, the way that I used to think. But I find myself thinking like, oh, do I like want to go back and be who I was before? And I really don't think so. Like, I really like who I am now. Yeah, I might be a few more pounds heavier. I may have stretch marks. I may be a lot less free than I used to, but the person and the quality of the individual I am has exponentially grown and is so much higher than it was before. Like, and I would not want to ever change that for anything. And so she made me a better person and a better artist, a better mother, a better career, a businesswoman. I would never want to go back to who I was. And so that is what motherhood does. It like there's a part of you that dies and is reborn into this like multifaceted individual. And the confidence that I have because of that is unmatched. And that has to be the Lord, like, like the Lord leading me and guiding me and giving me grace during this particular season of my life.
Man, everything you're saying, I love and I can agree with because I have listened to so many other podcasts where people share similar journeys
Yeah.
where they didn't want to be mothers and then okay, they're mothers and they're like, wow, this is such a blessing. And it's like God shifts something inside of you. He knows when you're ready for the new season. And when we're
Hmm.
also in relationship with Him, when we're submitting and surrendering our will and our desire at a point where we're like, okay, God, maybe I didn't ask for this or I wasn't prepared,
Right.
but trusting you. And then
Yeah.
He's like, hey, your
Yeah.
surrender, I'm going to work with. So, what are some of her things that she's really interested in right now and some things she doesn't like? And I know at every stage, it can change. Tomorrow, she can hate
Yeah.
broccoli. Today, she loves it.
Yeah, she loves to swim right now. She's in this like water loving phase. So she loves going to the beach. I'm on the East Coast and it was a beautiful day yesterday. We took her to the beach and she loves just being near water. I love that too. So I'm all for that. She also loves Peppa Pig. That's her favorite thing ever. And during a lot of my shoot for the single, we literally had to put Peppa Pig on our phones on a little tripod so that she would sit still on my lap. It was just so funny. She loves Peppa Pig. She also loves watching videos of herself, which is I found out a thing that kids love. So yeah, she loves going on walks, she loves being outside, she loves bounce houses. That's another thing she really loves. And she absolutely loves French toast for breakfast. That's like her go-to. French toast and mac and cheese. She loves mac and cheese, not for her breakfast, but like just in general, mac and cheese. She's a big Baby Bell cheese fan. She loves cheese. And actually, if we're being honest, she loves charcuterie. She likes has a very bougie taste. I don't know what I'm going to do with this child, but yeah, those are some of the things she's into right now.
It's so cute. So I got to ask about the Peppa Pig.
Yeah.
Has she said anything with an accent in? I know I was seeing videos on social media about
Oh
little
my gosh.
or mum or whatever.
No, she hasn't, but I really wanted to get into Bluey as well because I'm like the Bluey accent is so cute. But no, she's not gotten into the accents yet. But
I
now
think,
I'm like intrigued. Maybe she will. That would be so cute. I would
yeah,
love that personally.
she'll pick up some words and ask you for a jumper, and you're just like, well, okay, I'll get you this little
A
overall.
champa.
No, a sweater, but you know it as a sweater, and she'll pull it out. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Ah,
That'd be so great, honestly. I would go right with it. I'll be like one of the Peppa Pig characters. I don't know. We'll do it.
tell us your faith backstory. Was it something where you were raised in Christianity, and did you ever have like a phase where you doubted? I know many of us have. I did. I didn't stray, but I had questions. So yeah, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your backstory and how you came to know God.
So I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were worship leaders. My aunts and uncles were all worship leaders. Like they all were very, very involved in ministry and in church. So I kind of always knew about the Lord, but I think it was my parents' faith for a very long time. And then in college, I remember my first year of college, I was kind of encountered the Lord through a song called "How He Loves." It was Kim Walker, and she had led it at some sort of conference. I don't know, but it was my first time ever hearing the song, and I just remember listening to it, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. The fact that he loves me despite anything that I could do. There was nothing that I would do that would make him stop loving me less. And that was just a very big realization and revelation that I had. And it was when my faith became my own. And over time, since then, there have been plenty of revelations again of his love for me. They continue to show and they continue to come forth. But that was like the first time where I really, really felt like my faith became my own. It's been a journey since then. So it's been a journey of highs and lows, and the Lord has been with me through it all. I can confidently say I've never and I've never strayed from him. Like he's always been my go-to. And I think that's something I can say confidently, even when I'm upset or like, you know, that doesn't mean that my faith is perfect, but like I go to him with all my questions and my anger and my doubt and my fear, frustrations. Like I've been angry at the Lord. I've been sad. I've been mad. Like, but I bring it all to him first. And I feel like that's something that I can confidently say that I've done with my relationship with him. And so it's a very seasoned and weathered kind of thing for me now.
I feel like every one of us can relate,
Yeah.
especially if we've grown up in the faith. And like I have, we know He's our rock, He's our fortress, He's there. And it's just, there are some times when we go through things and we're like, God, why? Or why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
With this? And then it's because we know Him and we know His character, we kind of start
Hmm.
answering some of our own questions.
Yeah.
And it turns into, instead of questioning, it turns more into a venting session.
Yes.
Okay, God,
Very true.
thanks for dealing with me for a bit. But yeah, a lot of us definitely can relate to that.
Hmm.
I think it's so beautiful what you're doing, and
Thank you.
using your gift for the Lord, because there are people who may have questions like, well, why do we have people who are so successful and they are singing songs about not about God? And then the answer, I think there was maybe it was a movie I think I was watching where they asked that kind of question, and I forget the answer, but I remember the answer being so insightful. And then you
Hmm.
have people like you who are also successful and using your talent for God when you could have chosen something completely different and you didn't. What made you decide to say, I'm gonna, sing in the worship realm and use my talents for the Lord? And I like the fact that in Christian music, we're not only singing to the Lord, we put music, for Him, but we also, like your song that you just wrote. Um, it's talking about your labor experience and you and your daughter, and you're able to write about
Hmm.
life and worship. And I think that
Right.
you have that perfect marriage. I think that's awesome when it comes
Yeah.
to your music. So tell us about why you decided, like, I'm going to stay in this route and sing for the Lord and share my life experiences as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I just find that my faith is infused in a lot of what I do. Like, it's really hard for me to separate and only sing worship songs and then sing something that's nothing to do with him. Like, I don't know, it's just not me. Like, every aspect of my life, I have thought about how is my faith going to be reflected in this, or through decisions and choices that I make, like I'm thinking about how it's being portrayed to the Lord, but also to others. And so it just made sense for me. Like this motherhood experience it is a very natural and real experience, but it's not something like even in the parallels of like understanding motherhood, I'm seeing the love of the Lord in it, right? Like the way that I love my child is like the way that the Lord loves me. Like I'm seeing so much of him. So it's hard for me to separate. And so even though like I don't know, my new song doesn't really have Jesus or Lord outrightly said, right? But it's like an experience that every woman can relate with, but mine just happens to be I'm a woman of faith, and I'm hoping that my faith shines through any art that I create. And so that's kind of the goal. And I hope in my prayer for this song and for others is people who don't know him can listen to it and feel like that heart behind it and be like, whoa, that's different. Like I don't know what it is about that song, but it's very honest and real, and but it feels very different. It's coming from a really different place. And that's my goal and my hope for people to as they listen to the song. I hope they feel that.
Oh, I'm sure they will. And I think that is beautiful what you're doing, because a lot of times we will have people who will say they're Christian, but then their life doesn't really reflect that. And then it confuses the world.
Hmm.
Where do you stand? And it's
Yeah.
oftentimes that non-believers will look at Christians and will make fun of us for following the Lord and doing the things and making sure our life aligns with Him. We'll
Yeah.
make fun for that. But if you try to be like them, then they'll call you a hypocrite. So
Right.
it's like, am I going to try to please you where no matter
Right.
what I do, I'm not going to please you? Or am I going to say,
Hmm.
I know your heart may be, I don't know your heart, but it seems what you're dealing with is,
Right. Right.
I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to trust God. So at least I know what, if I follow him, I'm doing something right and he's going to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And when you truly love the Lord, it overflows. Like you said, I can't separate my faith from what I do.
Right.
My whole faith is my life. Um, yeah. And then in your song, it's so beautiful because God, he invented relationships. He invented marriage. He invented having a child. He invented, all these feelings that we have.
Hmm.
And you were writing about a real life experience that women
Hmm.
all over the world who have given birth understand.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
honors the Lord. And it helps people just to connect and say, oh, she gets me. And it's like,
Hmm.
I do.
It's
And here it is.
relatable.
I'm right here. I think that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm really excited for everyone to check out your new single. And I just want to give the floor to you. Anything that you want to promote, any projects that you have where we can
Yeah.
do, please just let us know.
Yes, you can find my single labor, all DSPs, Spotify, Apple Music, everything. You can also check my website out, Marianne, MaryannEjegeorge.com. And yeah, you can find all information that you need to know through there.
I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And I really love listening to your story and seeing what God is doing in your life. And I know you've definitely inspired a lot of our viewers today. So I thank you for taking the
Thank
time
you.
to talk with
Thank you
me.
so much. Thank you for having me.